yeah, there's a time that it feels like hard work, like building a business or, whatever we're doing.
Right.
Always requires some struggle, for most people to begin with. And then one day it just starts to flow. So, but to make that to make the answer simpler, to get hopefully give you something for, so it's not too vague. It's like well, a lot of the practices we adopt, they're not really householder practices, as far as I can see. Like say Kundalini yoga, Kirtan, really beautiful, but our mind comes back, and so the question starts to be, uh, how can I make every moment of my life practice? And so I'm not holding on to a high, a transcendental experience, you know, and then I'm not running away from the painful experience, the shutting down experience. And so then there's two pathways to carving through that. So one is the Jnana Yoga, who are my practice. So they would ask, a path of the mind, uh, who is suffering, who is finding this hard, and then there's the coming back to the self. They will call it the self. And then my path of devotion, is like, give your mind to God. My teacher used to say, so people would say, how often you meant to practice? And he said, whenever your mind is active. So it's like, all the time then. So then there's two main practices. One is the Taoist practice, which is called constant contemplation. So the the life is hard appears. Hello, life is hard. How are you today? Nice to meet you. Come and sit down with me. So life is hard appears. And then we might notice that the life is hard experience is made worse by our thinking. So debt appears, ill health appears, relationship problem appears, and that's usually something of a manageable problem. But what we suffer from is thinking about that. Oh, this means
Mm.
I'm a bad person, they're a bad person, this is going to turn out this way. And so our own mind attacks us quite viciously, creates hell on earth for us, not because of the problem, but because the way we're reacting to the problem, the emotional responses, the condition. And that's the hellish, that's the worst hell. So it's like, oh, what if this problem appears and I don't think so much about the problem? And then it's terrifying at first. It was like, I know, but I need to find a solution to this. So the inner child is freaking out. And so I don't, I think maybe one answer to that is it takes as long as it takes to realize the mind isn't that useful for solving problems outside of like where's the knife and fork. That's the mind's useful for that. you know what's the kitchen sink and what's the toilet. It's useful to have a mind to know the difference. But big problems, who am I, how to solve this problem, how to think outside of the box, the mind's not that useful. And so slowly we build up a relationship with something that is not the mind, and we could call that God. you know Christ calls it the divine will, and then Lao Tzu calls it the Tao. And slowly we stop fighting against the problem, and then we relax in the face of the problem, and then we realize the problem isn't a bigger problem as what we thought it was. And then our mind's clear enough, and we might receive an answer, or we might see some kind of miracle start to operate in our life that moves the problem out of the way in ways we couldn't imagine. And then we start to build the faith of the mustard seed, and we start to realize there's some kind of force that is beautiful in this universe, and it loves us more than we can imagine. But we have the free will to hand over the reins, which is the symbology of the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna, the higher self, the divine, is actually got the reins of the chariot that Arjuna, the little self, the warrior, is actually riding in. And so slowly we're like, oh, okay, this operating system is creating most of my problems with its mind, with its neurosis, with its trauma. That's the problem. That's the big problem, not this. And so, but it's a process of all the spiritual paths. They're just called paths of surrender. Whether that's surrender, they call that let go to the Tao. Whether that's surrender to the divine will. And at first it terrifies us, because what if that is a cosmic arsehole? What if God is awful? What if he's going to crucify me? What if he was as bad as my abusive parent? What then? And so we're terrified that if we let go of the reins, that we might find out that this cosmic parent wants to crucify us and put us through terror and torture. It takes a little while. So the peace starts to come. The no struggle starts to come when we finally just learn how to let go of our life and just be in this Wu Wei, they call it in Tao, effortless living, just responding, feeling the flow. What do I need to say? Where do I need to go? And that's when the suffering starts to go. When we change the operating system over and discover we're not here to fight life. Like, I'm here to destroy life, overcome, yeah, high five, pump in the air and all that, We're here to surrender, to let life take care of itself as us, through us, to us, Wow, so easy. And so that is this changing from fear of life, to the operating system, sometimes called love. He who dwells in love dwells in the divine, and the divine in them. Christ said this. To a peace that transcends our understanding, means thinking. And so that's when the struggle lessens. But it's painful.